we want to be truthful as much as possible when we talk about some of the things, and we tend to avoid some of the facts equally. Which, for instance, I remember there was another space we talked about the academies, and even why some of the academies are exporting their talent and not giving it to some of the even the clubs locally. For instance, those in the money talks. I said the example is like Rift Valley Academy. Just look at how many students go from that school to join basketball, like in some of the colleges in the US. And also, partly, I think I saw the case of Madrid and Barcelona. Yeah, they had some students joining there. Then, even the case of football, even the tournaments that have been held in the past few years, like two in Europe, that a Kenyan academy is participating there, but then even you look at some of those kids and you wonder, these are elite kids. I've never seen such an academy play their football here in Kenya. But when you go to a school like Rift Valley Academy, it's in Kijabe, pay a fees to them and see what happens there. Their systems are working for them. But why would someone invest in such a system and avoid our system? It's because they know they're getting what they're investing on. The return is likely to be guaranteed. So za zingine, even when the other day we were congratulating one of us who is a video analyst, some like he does the analytics for one of the clubs. It's because we know that talent is paying, all that profession is paying currently in some of the clubs, and some of the clubs have not appreciated it. So some of these things, when looked at it in a very extensive manner, you'll find that indeed we need to have the systems working, so that you need a time when even the Sports Ethics Act is well implemented, and you'll be satisfied even to see your club held on responsible on some of the things they want you to follow. But you cannot negate something and act that it's positive when it's on your favor, but it's negative when it's not on your favor. These things need to run concurrent, like they go hand in hand. You cannot differentiate, say that, oh, I need to invest in sports, but we need to overlook this and forget this, but accept this. They just need to be accepted all over. You cannot ignore maybe the matter of skills and say, now we want to go for skills, but we don't want to go maybe for the medical aspect. Bana, kuna mtu mwenye hawezi cheza football, itakataa tu, maybe your condition, uko na heart problem, and zazine you won't play past a specific age. When you ask that why a club in Europe gave somebody a contract up to 2030, and our clubs locally like Shabana cannot give a contract even of 2 years, it's because we know our systems can't allow that, unless we want to implement from the smallest level going up. Yeah.
Shukran. Unaweza mute. The fact is both of the discussions can be right, you know. So as Okina alifafanua, na of course pia nyinyi mmefafanua. So we want to, tulikuwa tumeanza na Balala, and he was about to just tell us all about his team and of course introduce himself fully. Najua tumemwambia mara mingi. What you guys don't know, by the way, tukianzanga hii space mimi na Devi tulikuwa hapa, there's a day tulikuwa almost the whole space na Balala, and that is how we came to learn about Balala. So he has been here a couple of times. So anyway, Balala, tusikuweke sana. I hope uko ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Thanks. Moved in a separate room. Yeah, just first of all, as introduction, I wanted to thank you for inviting me to the host. It's really an honor and a privilege to be a host. I mean, to be a guest in your Football Kenya show space. Thank you so much. Maybe just in brief, I just wanted to tell you guys that I mean, what touches me is that to realize that there are people out there who are thinking like me and who really want to see something happen in Kenyan football, because we've missed a generation. We've skipped our generation and we've denied to Medhulumu Watoto the opportunity to be able to, who are talented, to be able to showcase their talent to Kenya and the world, because the Premier League is actually, in my opinion, a failed system which has absolutely no fan base. You've seen and you've rightfully said that even the football in the schools have attracted more following than the Premier League. So in my opinion, the Premier League is actually the football league that's going on for the kids, for the school children, the high school kids. So because of that, we have a duty towards this upcoming generation or the next generation to make sure that whoever has skipped that generation for two generations for the last 30 years, whereby football has been zero in our country, while our neighbors, Tanzania and South Africa and other countries have been on the rise. Yet there was a time Kenya was a powerhouse in football compared to our neighbors. I like what's happening in Tanzania, but I still think that we can rise even bigger than that, because Tanzania is only a two-team league. It's only Yanga and Simba that has a fan base, and they're the ones that make football what it is there. I know Kenya can be huger than that, but there's so many things that need to be done. And why the reason why I thought about this was because I sort of had a football background. I used to be in Upper Hill School. I played for my school team. I've played in the and we were at that time, when I was in school, I was a winger, by the way. We were the Nairobi champions. We won the Nairobi championship, and we also went to play the exactly what's happening now in the countrywide finals. We lost there. At that time, it was won by Kakamega High. Remember, Kakamega High were winning it every year. So I've been involved in that. I finished school. When I was in university, I was in USIU. I was the president of the sports committee of the school. So I've been involved in sports here and there. When I started working, immediately I moved to Mombasa. I grew up in Nairobi, by the way, all my life. So when I moved to Mombasa to join the family business at that time, then I picked up, by accident, I picked up golf as a sport. And I loved the sport, and I at that time I was newly married, and my son at that time was very young, about 3-4 years old. So I said to myself, I promised to myself that I will make my son the best golfer in Kenya. So I focused on that. As I was working, I focused on that. I joined the Golf Federation at that time. And then created a Junior Golf Foundation, which is a subcommittee of the Kenya Golf Union. Up to today, it's been very successful. And then my son grew up to be the best golfer in Kenya. He's actually was called Kenya One for a very long time. He was the youngest national team player at the age of 13. That record has never been broken. He was the youngest ever ranked Kenyan golfer in the country. He was ranked 149 in the world. For some time. Obviously, when he at that time when he was in school, as a typical Kenyan, the first thing that we want to do is that we don't believe that our kids can earn a living through sports. So I forced him into school to quit golf, to finish first his studies. Immediately he finished his uni. He asked me, can I take 1 year off because I want to join the national team again, and I want to prove that, and I want my status as Kenya One. So I allowed him 1 year to play golf. He became Kenya One again, broke all the records in Kenya. And then after 1 year of, obviously, because sports doesn't pay in Kenya, I told him, now you need to sort out your life. So now he got a job. So he's left golf. He's playing it leisurely. He's still in the national team, but he's no longer Kenya 1. He's I think Kenya 2 or 3 now, but he doesn't play regularly. But slowly his ranking is going down. Even his world ranking has gone up to I think about 300. But because he doesn't play regularly, because we don't want him to play golf, because I know that he'll waste his life because there is no money in golf. So after that, sorry, I might be boring you, but I'm just giving you a brief history of myself and how I got into football in Vita Youngsters. So then also I joined the county government of Mombasa. I was the CEC in charge of transport and infrastructure. So when I joined in, I realized I didn't know much about. I'm not an engineer. I didn't know much about transport infrastructure, but I was always stuck in traffic trying to go to work. It used to take me 1.5 hours to go to work and back, and I used to make a lot of noise to the then governor, and we became close then, and he then appointed me to be the CEC transport. I said, okay, you every day you're criticizing the traffic in Mombasa, you're telling us to do something about it. Okay, I've appointed you, do something about it. So I took that as a challenge. I decided, I went to Japan, I went all over the world trying to see how countries solve the problem. And every time I went, I found that the solutions I was being given were not solutions, solutions were for them. But when I come back home, it was not a solution that was a local solution. So I had to think of our own solution. And I came up with something called the happy hour. For those who have been to Mombasa, you maybe have tried it. And for those who don't know, the happy hour basically is that 1 hour during rush hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. What I did is that I made the whole city travel in one direction during that 1 hour in the and then reduce the travel time for 1.5 hours to 7 minutes. And that has continued now ever since I invented it about 4 years ago. When I left that also, I invented something called the red carpet, whereby I said that all the footpaths in the city will be red in color because we were trying to avoid people parking on the footpaths and it wasn't working. So I said, why don't we use psychology and make it a different color? And I called it the red carpet because I was trying to show that the mwananchi is more important than the person who drives a car. We did a study at that time, and we came to realize that 97% of the population in Kenya and also Mombasa don't own vehicles, and only 3% own vehicles. So I said to myself, if only because there are only 30,000 cars in Mombasa, but out of a population of 1 million, and 970,000 people don't own cars. Out of the 970,000 people, the 97%, 53% of the people do not use any mode of motorized transport. They don't use matatu. Can't afford to use matatu or boda boda or anything. They walk. And when I checked the study, it also revealed that it happens in Nairobi and everywhere. So if I say to myself, if 97% of the population don't own cars, don't use cars, why are we focused on the infrastructure of roads? Then I diverted a lot of infrastructure money into making footpaths that are wide and beautiful and colored for the 97% of the population, because I said those are the real mwananchi. So I invented it and I came up with the concept of the red carpet. The United Nations picked up that concept and started selling it around the world. And I was invited to Brown University, which is the top 5 universities in the world, to give a talk on the students who were studying town planning. And now it's studied in many universities in the world, the red carpet concept, and it's actually called the red carpet. And I was proud that I invented the terminology. So when I was coming towards my final years of the university, I said to myself, then because I like to innovate and come up with new ideas, and I came to learn that only new ideas and homegrown ideas solve homegrown problems can only be solved with homegrown solutions. So I went into football and I started studying about football because I had previously had a football background, but I was never involved in the politics of football at all. But I just started trying to see what solutions can be there to be able to solve the problem that we are having. everything. So I gave a few talks here and there to the football fraternity in the Coast Province about it, and people who have been in football for years and years. And I remember when I gave the first talk, is the first time I met Hussein Heri, who was he's a legendary coach for the Harambee Stars, who was a coach, I think, 30, 40 years ago. He came up to me and asked me, where have you been all our life? We need you. Exactly what you're saying. You're talking about history that I can remember, but I've never realized that this is the solution. So because hearing it from him gave me more impetus to continue in my work. And that is when I say to myself, but now I'm just saying it theoretically, but why don't I bring to what I'm, practice what I'm preaching? So I went around Mombasa and I looked for a team that is in line with the things that I believe in. And the things that I believe in things like the name of the team matters a lot, the identity of the team, the fan base of the team, the identity, even the identification through the uniform and the colors must be unique to that team. So there are very many things that I was ticking, and I decided to do it with the Vita youngsters. Fast forward 3 years later, Vita youngsters from a team that was nobody knew about. It was a very small team that was just playing in a small mtaa, very young boys. Today I shared pictures of these kids when they were young when I picked them up to Goat Brand, and I think he saw that. And what happened is that today they are the most popular team in Mombasa, and spreading towards to be the most popular team in Coast Profit. There is nowhere in Mombasa that you will go, and I also did a social experiment of that nobody knows these guys. Now I'm going to the next stage of the things that I've ticked down of what I need to do is to make those boys celebrities in Mombasa, because in Kenya the celebrities are politicians. Every time you see a politician, you want to take a selfie with him or you want to be seen with him. Yet in the other countries, working on that, I want to put billboards all over Mombasa of the star players. I want to use them for marketing. But I know there's a journey that I need completed. But to complete this journey, I need the jigsaw puzzle solved. And the jigsaw puzzle, I've reached a stage whereby now I need the people in the footballing fathers, the Football Federation, to come in and help in what I'm trying to implement. But as much as I try to reach out to them, I find hostility and I find negativity, but I will soldier on, and I'll try to find a way around it. I don't want to give up on it. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that you see most of the failures that we've had in Kenya is that we try and copy paste everything that we see in Europe or the English Premier League. Things like, okay, we see that there are 18 teams in the English Premier League, so Kenya has to have 18 teams. English Premier League does this, so we have to do this. It doesn't work. If it works for them, it doesn't need to work for us. So what I'm trying to say here, and I don't also believe when I read many comments on social media saying we need stadiums, we need this. I don't believe in that. I believe that we have stadiums. We have Kasarani and Nyayo, which is a 60,000 seater and 30,000 seater stadium, which we cannot fill. So why are we rushing to demand for stadiums, yet we can't even fill a 5,000 seater stadium? So what I'm trying to say is that we create a demand first for that, and then the political class will see the pressure from the demand that's coming in, and obviously they will give us all the stadiums that we need. But if we demand stadiums without proving and without creating the demand, then I don't believe that it will ever happen. We'll continue singing about it, complaining about it, without doing anything about it. The other thing is that I also don't believe in having football academies at this stage. Football academies should come naturally when the demand for the football academies are there, because anything that is done today is done through CSR money. CSR money is the bones of any corporates. But what I'm doing is that we need to target the marketing money. The marketing money is huge compared to the CSR money that is floating around football. So when you see teams like Bandari, KCB, Tusker, and all this, just know that these guys are using CSR money to run these teams, which is peanuts. The biggest team right now with the biggest finances is Bandari. I think they are about between 120 to 160 million a season. I want a situation whereby our budget for our teams are in the billions of shillings. I want a situation whereby our football players are driving around in big cars, in Land Cruisers and Range Rovers, and living in big palatial homes in Mudaigas and Karens. And these guys will end up being role models even for the next generation. And the cycle will continue. But how do you do that? We do that by creating a fan base, because what I call football right now, all the corporates are, if you Google and see how much money Kenyan companies spend in marketing and advertising, it's in billions of shillings. But where those billions of shillings go, it goes into billboards. You see them all over the city. You'll see them on magnet billboards. You see them on prime news, 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock advertising. But it never goes to football, because this is a market of supply and demand, whereby if there is demand for viewership, money will come there. So football in Kenya, I call it a billboard inside a forest. So you have a billboard inside a forest. Obviously, no one will want to put up his advertisement in that forest, in that billboard. They put up their billboard in the highways where many cars are passing. They want to put the adverts in news where everybody follows, because everybody in Kenya follows politics. So, in my opinion, the politicians are the ones that we should copy. The politicians are the best, are the most intelligent conmen in Kenya. What they have done is that they have created a following whereby divided us among tribes. So we all follow our political parties based on our tribes. So obviously we know who are the supporters of ODM, and who are the supporters of UDA, and who is a supporter of Ford Kenya, and who are the supporters of Wiper. We know it, and we should not hide. And we know exactly what they've done to us, and it has become the most vibrant following in this country. And that's why whenever there is news on politics, all the companies come with big money, and they want to advertise on 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock news. So obviously they have one-upped us. We need to one-up them. And that's why when I say about community-based teams, I'm actually saying let's follow what the politicians are doing, because to me that's positive tribalism. What the politicians are doing is negative tribalism. That's why teams like Gor Mahia and the AFC Leopards are actually tribal teams, or that belong to a tribe, and majority of the followers of those teams are from that community itself. And thank God Shabana made it to the Premier League, and you will see members of the Kisii community will all support Shabana. So can you imagine if we had a Wiper team, and a Northeastern team, and a Mombasa team, and we will beat Tanzania, because that is our strength. Our tribalism is our strength. We've accepted that we are tribalistic, and our tribalistic comes before our patriotism. But our tribalistic, we've reached a stage whereby it's a positive thing. We have fought about it. We have gone through so much in our lives in these 50 years among our fighting, that we've finally accepted that our differences is our strength, and we love each other. We intermarry now, but we still have some banters against each other. We have jokes about each other that we all accept. 30, 40 years when you had those jokes, people used to get angry. Now we accept it. We make fun of each other. Football is talent. When we go to the football field, these boys go and showcase their talent. It's a pity that they go and showcase their talent in empty stadiums. Football is a talent, just like the singers. When a singer like Diamond or from Tanzania, or the Nigerian singers, when they go into a concert, into a stadium to sing, it's packed. But if there were only 50 people in the stadium, this guy will not sing. He will pack up and go. So I keep asking, as a footballer, if I go in a stadium and I see 50 people or 100 people in the ground, why am I playing football? I should just go home and just give the results, and go play somewhere in a backyard and give the results to FKF and tell them, okay, post these results. Because but football is such a powerful sport. It's and being a powerful sport, and it's a people sport. It's a wananchi sport with a big following, but it's a sleeping giant that we need to wake it up. But we need to innovate. So many. We need to be innovative in making attracting fan base. When we do that, all the corporations with their billions in advertisement and marketing will come there and give us the money. I hear people all the time complaining, why are we not getting sponsorship? Why the local channels are not airing? They will not air because that's a business. If you have a fan base, you will come. If you don't have, will come, because our interest is to sell our products. So create that for them, and they will come, and we will call the shots in the football fraternity. We will call the shots. So obviously, we already have something that's a sleeping giant. Everybody loves football. Football is the #1 religion in the world. The Christianity has a following of 3 billion, I believe. Islam has a following is about 2 billion, but football, 3.7 billion people are viewing the World Cup. So it means that even football is greater than any religion. But we are here in Kenya, we are sleeping on it, and we don't realize that we can create something so big. Something similar has been happening in golf, and because my son is in golf and he plays in big tournaments, and I'm involved a little bit in the union, I try to advise. The Kenyan government gives $2.5 million, that's almost 300 million shillings, to host the Kenya Open, which is a European tour event in Muthaiga every year. I said, if you took that $3 million and gave the best golfers in Kenya to play a proper Kenyan tour for $3 million, what will happen? Kenya would have the biggest golfing tour in Africa, and everybody from Africa will come to play here, and our golfers will be millionaires, because the people who are the best in golf in Kenya are not rich people. These are caddies, they're caddies, and they're poor. But this money, if it circulates around them, these guys will be able to drive big cars, they'll be able to live in big mansions, and the younger generation would want to emulate, and then the football and golf will grow. And the union has been trying to grow golf, and I've been advising me that's the only way to grow. Take this money, because every year these Mzungus come and they win, and they go with our 300 million and they go away. South Africa did the same thing. They kept their money. They have a tour that is about $1 million and $1.5 million worth, and everybody in Africa wants to go play in that tour, and it's so hard to qualify because it's reserved for them. So they even give other people, like in Kenya, they only give us 2-3 slots, but they reach a stage where the US tour and the European tour now recognize their tour, and also want to, and have co-sanctioned with them to be part of the tour. Now in Kenya, if we had a homegrown league whereby we disregard what FIFA says, get banned, it's okay, but have so much money, and we focus on creating our own league that has a big fan base, we will reach a stage that everyone in Africa would want to play in the Kenya League. If we can pay good money to the players, Nigerians will come, Ghanaians will come, North Africans will come, everybody will want to play in the Kenyan League. We'll have such a big league that even the FIFA would not ignore us. They would recognize us, and they would come to us, and they would surrender to us and tell us, okay, guys, what do you want? But now, as we speak, we keep getting threatened with bans, and then we keep going back to be unbanned because we want to play in Africa Cup, we want to try and qualify for the World Cup, and yet we keep going backwards and fall to the demand of we keep falling to the demand of FIFA to bring back our football. And every time we go back to FIFA to beg to be returned to football, we move 3 steps back, or 3 years or 5 years back. Why don't we accept to be banned? We create our own football league that is so huge that we are able to attract these guys. They will come back to us. Now the Safari Rally is the same thing. Kenya has allocated so much money to the Safari Rally. Look how huge the Safari Rally is, and how many people go to Naivasha. And then what happens after that? All the big companies, Safaricom, you name it, Kenya Breweries, everybody, all the big banks, they come and put money because they want to be part of the event, because they have seen that the entire country is watching. Now, if we can divert that to football, that the entire country's attention is in our league, let me tell you, there is no company in Kenya that will not come with their marketing money to football. And the marketing money, I told you, is in billions and billions of shillings. Imagine if those billions of shillings were divided among our team. And we don't need even to bother about entrance fee. We can do what the politicians do. How do politicians fill a stadium? They pay people. These guys, when they go and have a rally in Kasarani and wherever, they spend millions even to the, they even give people money to come to the grounds because they know in the end these politicians will benefit. They'll become millionaires out of using those 500 they give people to come to their rallies. In the end, once they get their positions, they make billions out of them. So what I'm trying to say is that in this day, in an era where there's social media and there's digital platform for TV rights, the money is in the TV rights. Even the English Premier League, the money is in the TV rights, not in gate collection. If you the whole thing that is driving the English Premier League is the TV rights. Now, there's an example, there's a living example. The living example, and I keep talking about this guy called Lalit Modi. Lalit Modi went and created the IPL. It's only 8 to 9 years old. Now it is bigger in TV rights than the English Premier League. It's, I think, number 2 or 3 in the world now. Number 1 is the NFL, number 2 is the NBA. I think number 3 is the Indian Cricket League, and then number 5 is the English Premier League. They took the place of the English Premier League because he went and used homegrown solutions to fix their homegrown problems. So I'm just saying is that we have to use our own solutions. Kenya is a very unique country. There's a book I want you all to read. It's called The Peculiar Kenyans. The Peculiar Kenyan. The Peculiar Kenyan, it was telling you about the habit of the Kenyan, how the Kenyan has got peculiar habits. Michael Joseph created one of the biggest, richest companies in East and Central Africa, Safaricom. When Michael Joseph was asked, how did you manage to do this? He said, I first studied the peculiar habit of the Kenyan. I realized, so he was listing out many things that he realized about Kenya. So he said, the things that I used in Kenya, I could not use in any other country. I was not succeeding at the beginning. But when I realized Kenyans, number one, like free things. So what I did is I made the SIM cards free. And I knew that everyone will have a Safaricom SIM card because that time Airtel was trying to come into the market. I realized Kenyans live free, so I gave them free SIM cards. Everybody, even if the ones who didn't need it, went and got it. That's the peculiar Kenyan. He made SMSs free between a certain time and a certain time. He said at that time, I was shocked to see that it was jammed, that the system was so jammed that we didn't even have the infrastructure to make, so we had to improve the infrastructure. So but those are just one or two things, examples I'm giving you. But Michael Joseph listed so many things, but he used even about the tribalism in Kenya, how he used that in his marketing of his Safaricom. He used many other things. Now in football, what I'm saying is that let's think out of the box. If I was today in charge of football in Kenya, I would do very many radical things. People will fight me for it, but I know in the end I'll succeed because there's something called passion. If you have passion on something and you believe so much in what you're doing, you're going to succeed. There is no school in this world that can teach you passion. You have to have it in you. In this group, all of you are passionate. I've heard you and I've seen you, and all of you want to see us reach that stage. And you guys must know that the only way to reach that stage is by doing things differently. Every suggestion that you have that has been used in Kenya, please don't use it again. Don't even talk about it. Throw it out of the window. Let us try new things that have never ever been tried before. And every solution we have, let's have it as a Kenyan solution. We have a very big asset that no country in Africa has. We are so tribalistic. How can we turn that negative into a positive? Every country in Africa has a failed league. Don't be cheated. Every country has only 2 teams. Even in South Africa, you have the Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. You go to that have a fan base. You go to Morocco, they have Wydad and Raja Casablanca. You go anywhere, you have 2 teams. You go to Tanzania, you have teams. You have Simba and Yanga. Kenya is the only country that can have a derby of 7, 8, 9 teams if we follow what I'm suggesting. Some might agree with what I'm saying. Some might not agree. I did this journey with Invita youngsters using the exact formula, and I told you I've succeeded in just 2-3 years. These young boys are not in the Premier League. These young boys are in the lowest league in Mombasa. We are not even recognized by FKF. We are I would call it a league haram. Yet our team is the most popular team in Mombasa. I sent a picture of just now of Lionel Messi before and after, and I sent a picture of Mohamed Salah. one of the things that I came to learn also about football is that I posted a young boy, we call him Abdere, but he's called Abdurrahman. I loaned him the other day to Rainbow. I tried to get a few teams to try him out in the Premier League, because this boy, I took him up to FC Porto. He went for FC Porto this year for trials. When he went to FC Porto, this guy was very good, but they told me that this boy is too small, because compared to those guys there, those guys are huge. So they said, this guy, in fact, you're telling me he's 20 years old, but he looks like he's the same size as our 14-year-olds. Take him, go get him back into size before you bring him back. So now he's come back to Kenya. I'm trying to get him a team. So I learned that from Vita Youngsters. We had 2 weeks ago, we had a friendly match with Bandari. Our guys we lost 2-0, but we were not beaten by skills, but we were beaten because of size. So what I've done is that now I've just yesterday signed a agreement with the gym next, which is in the same neighborhood, to give me 25 free membership. I've got a nutritionist for them. I've got a kitchen to cook for them, and I've got a special instructor. I'm now doing a 6-month program to build their mass. And that's why I posted the picture of Mohamed Salah and also Messi. These guys are very talented guys, but they never had the size. They were made by their clubs to reach that strength. And they went through a nutritionist, and I went through everything. Now nobody can touch them when they got the strength. So I'm doing that with my players. I want to create monsters out of them, and I know once I create monsters out of them, in 6 months to 1 year, I'm gonna go and challenge any team in the Premier League to come and play with us. I hope to succeed. And I don't believe in failure. And I believe that even if failure is still a success, because if I don't try it, I was and fail, I will still not. I will never know that that this system works or fails. You have to fail to know that it didn't work. Then it's better than living the rest of my life knowing that will that have worked or not. That's why I say I like doing radical things, and I don't care about failing, because failure is part of the things that is better than not doing it at all. So I've finished actually just speaking what is in my heart. Maybe if anybody else wants to ask any question, and maybe then I can maybe come in and answer.
Thank you so much, Balala. Thank you so much. You've given us an overview and an in-depth about from. Thank you so much. You've given so many insights. Even the last one, the nutritionist. I remember when at the beginning of the space, we were actually arguing about the age and how big our Western players are. And you've seen how it has affected Balala's guys. If they were as big as the Western guys, they would have added an advantage to an already system, a team system that can play football, but they're just physically inadequate. So nutritionist, all that, very important. You also the other thing you talked about that I actually picked and I love is the 7 derbies, and that is true. You can go in every country, not every every Africa country can produce you 4 or 5 big derbies, but we have a very big opportunity. It's turning the negative into the positive, and it is one lesson. It tunaweza apply in life everywhere. You can apply it in life, because in every failure, what people term as failure, some people who see it differently see it as a learning curve. So every failure has a positive. You must find a positive in every failure. So for us, tribalism can work for us, and it is what we were saying at the beginning of the show, what Davey was implying. He wants our players to be stars. He does not want to interact them as normal people, because now utawazoea, utaanza kuwadharau. We shouldn't have that kind of access to our players. But for us to be in that kind of for us to go all the way to that kind of point, we must create an environment for those people to succeed, because they have been doing it for years. For example, even athletics, we've been winning it, but now you see the world has caught up with athletics, because they have infused some things for the modern time of the sport. Same na Kenya, we cannot be doing the same things we were doing 20 years ago. Venye tu Balala amesema, we have to be radical. I was about to ask him when he was going on when he reached Mvita, I wanted him to ask. I wanted to ask him how he did it with Vita, but he has given so many examples. But the most important thing, you must first learn your fans. You must first learn your fans. They are your first target audience. They are your first target audience. So for you to appease them, for you to impress them, you must learn their ways. You must learn their behavior. Today's world, for example, social media, that is exactly what social media is doing. You wonder why Instagram, you go to Instagram, all of a sudden they're showing you photos, a sequence of photos that you like, similar to that, because they have understood what kind of things you learn. It is what we call algorithm. So back to football. Our football management, our football clubs must study their fans. That is the connection you create with your fans. It is what we call community-based football. You don't have to be a community-based football. You can be a corporate football, but you must first analyze and see the people that relate to your club, because those are the guys who will make you stand. Na hivyo ndo tunainua ball, because if every team had a fan base like Shabana, like Gor, like FC, then we have pushed to 7 derbies, venye tu Balala may insist. And one way, it is not the only way by the way, it is just one way of doing it, is creating tribal football. Hata sahi kwa group kuna mtu you assume mimi ni fan wa Gor because I am a Luo, which is not true. Mnyamwezi wache hiyo story kabisa, which is not true. But regardless, you get the point. So anyway, thank you so much Balala. Sijui kama Devi ulikuwa unataka kurespond to him or any of the speakers. You know, I have been accused of gagging people in this show. I am not that kind of a person. So Devi.
Mimi actually it's not more of maswali, niku back up hiyo, and I think I've mentioned it before. Tumekuwa tukisemaga hapa hivi, merit ya chenye unafanya, hiyo chenye unafanya, where is it working? Why don't we take something that is working and adopt that? And Tofik siya teta namtetea, but he's explained that. The kitu tumeona, he's done it kwa ground. These are the standards zenye tunafaa kwa tuna need. Hata in part of vying for the, let's say, any leadership position regarding now taking football to another level. Hizo ndo standards tunafaa kwa tunaendea. Like, wewe umedu nini? The time at ile time ya Talanta Hela, we had the same thing when we were asking each other pe vitu kiona lamo. Ya watu wameitwa, hawa watu wenye wametajwa kwa Talanta Hela. Amefanya nini? Huyo mtu amefanya nini yenye inamfanya yeye ndio aweze kuchaguliwa kama a representative wa Talanta Hela? You know, then that way, at least holding someone accountable inakuwa rahisi. Haikui ati ni kama ni subject umepatiwa shule, ati go study this subject alafu utakuja exam. Hii inakuwa ni kama project yako umekuja you've done your project, then now you're pitching your project. Unaona, na hiyo those are the standards you need to be going for. And Balala, by the way, ulifanya nikafuata mtoi wako manze. And yeah, that's something. Golf. But anyway, yeah. Mnyamwezi, you've been nini for a minute.
Nilikuwa niulize Balala swali lakini amedrop. Haina worries. Ndaita pass tu.
Haya, ndo huyo hapo anakaa. Sawa, utamuuliza. Kiplimo, before you give it to Tross. Kiplimo.
Yeah, I think nimekuwa nikiswitch on mic na kuswitch off. So at least the guy ametupea a few insights hapa na pale, and just ni kufanya rejoin down ile ya venye si huku chini na affect za zingine. Unajua tukipa example, there is the other thing tumekuwa tukiargue before he came on, and I just looked at it that saa zingine when you want to move unapata nini the basket inaanza kukua na matunda mingi, ama unahitaji vitu mingi ufeel ndani, like ulikuwa unahitaji kupika maybe mboga nahitaji dania, I need this and that, so too much is needed. But saa zingine if you look at even political goodwill, it affects some of the things we face. The other day niliona watu wakicheza politics ya 2 items, and one of them ilikuwa ile feed ya Murang'a Seals, and I remember previously tukisema you know that feed is so nice, it's only that haina stands, but stands itakuja baadaye, wacha at least wamemaliza katikati, and then people agreed, but later on hata hatukumaliza, I think tumaliza like 2 weeks, political goodwill ilikosa on those guys. They needed someone awatengenezea tu ile njia tu peke yake ya kuingia huko, cause hiyo ndio ilikuwa hurdle. Most of the clubs inasema kwa access hiyo stadium itakuwa ngumu sana, and to me I couldn't imagine that if fans wa Shabana walifika huko itakuwa ngumu kwa fans wengine kuingia pale. I don't think it's very hard, it's only that njia ikitengenezwe you will get access to that place, hata kama iko interior mtaingia huko ndani. So but someone plays politics because at first they ambiwa, you know, the leaders from the region have congratulated the team and now they want it in the Premier League. But how much is needed to make that road from where it is? It's a stretch of 5.3 kilometers wenye mlihesabu. 5.3 kilometers ama ilikuwa ni it's like 5.3 if I'm not wrong. I think nakumbuka simu yangu nionyesha hivyo. So za zingine that political goodwill ndio tunasema ndio ina affect vitu zingine, but if the locality like even from the MCA they were to force that thing down, ingefika hadi hapo. But the same politicians when wanahitaji kuimplement, they were there congratulating the team saying we are here to support you, but when it came to them just giving a go ahead, haikupatikana. And zingine if you were to use the standards za a bitumen road kutengenezwa from that main road to where the ground is, which to me I think is far better, the first thing that is needed even before the stands, you'll find it's so much less money if corruption is not involved. Because the bitumen road is so cheaper than the tarmac one. But even the Kenya secondary schools nini sports hizi tumekuwa tukiongelea, the same thing, the guys registered the entity because they discovered, hey, now we can have the sponsors coming in without somebody going to gag us atuambie, hey, you guys, you have to do things our way. So we have to register and work by our own rules, which means as in I feel is good because they not be controlled by someone. Hata kama nimeona walikuwa hiyo that someone alikuwa ameweka placard zao pale kwa stadium, but it will help them in some way. So the other thing which jamaa ameongelea about nutrition, za zingine nutrition si ati ni kukula nyama bana peke yake. You go abroad and you see what they prefer kuchukua this soya beans na marawe than marawe ya kawaida than meat. You find the solution is just there. It's only that za zingine watu wana imagine success comes na nyama. Nyama I said anything, but those habits za zingine tend even za zingine to affect us more. Hata unapata mtu anatoka kwa feed, umemaliza kucheza game, jamaa anafuta hapo shisha bana. Then next day, unasikia jamaa alikuwa pan because anatumia substances. Na hiyo kitu si kupenda. Umepatana watu pale umeshinda game wamekwambia tuende tukunye some stuff. Au gym imetengenezewa wapi? Unataka kuiguza. Next day ukipewa ban unasema manze ni enemies of development. And it's something you took willingly. So some of these behaviors, I think you discover that at times ukisonga the higher level utapata mtu kama Olunga amekuja naye hapa anakuambia unakunywa nini, so even mimi nataka kukunywa hiyo. And zazini utasikia mtu akisema no, huyu jamaa analinga bana. It's not about that. Zazini, it's because you have learned to discipline yourself. But finally jamaa amesema about funding, which I felt manze enyewe we need it. Umegundua hata hii safari rally yenyewe tuko na cast pale mnamezi na za Kenya, but they don't even meet the category 3 peke yake ya kuparticipate in safari rally. Ziko hapo tu kama kama toys, like they don't meet even the basics ya ile ya category 3. So za zingine when the funding is right and hakuna hiyo kupita to sado zenye maybe mnasema FKF ikitolewa, you'll find we have a clear pathway ya participate rather than kupitishwa na kuumishwa nje. Mna participate tournament, mnaambiwa ndio imebaki ni 10k for the winners rather than even giving them 100 million. Yeah, I think that's all I have for now.
Wewe Mnyamwezi, ulikuwa na swali tu Taufik?
Na pia on my end nimejaribu Taufik nimekutumia request
Imekataa.
Okay before basi akuje juu sasa hata jibu hiyo swali.
Kweli reason
So,
ya
nipe
acha
tu
tusikie
hapo
reason.
down.
Acha ni sawa, acha tusikie reason.
Ndio nilikuwa next Lamo.
Wewe tumekusikia, acha tusikie kwanza
Dogo
reason.
tu.
Tumekusikia.
1 minute. Hata si 1 minute, please.
Bro, check, maintain. We are coming. Space haishi sahi, so stands. Usiwahi ogopa. Uko na sisi bro. So anyway, reason unasemaje?
Ni ajeni.
Poa sana.
Mimi nilikuwa na maswali for jamaa. For Taufik.
Taufik, swali zako unaweza weka kwa comments. Answers rather.
Sawa.
Wewe ongea tu,
niongee sawa. Mimi nilikuwa na swali hiyo story ya nilikuwa nataka kumuuliza kuhusu media, because I think I'm a state that media ina play a big role kwa nini ya EPL, as in ni better yani ina contribute more kwa EPL. Na alikuwa I think alikuwa anaifanisha to our case. So mimi nilikuwa nataka kumuuliza kwa maoni yake, because mimi nilikuwa na of the view that hata kupata media deal ita create little impact kwa ligi yetu, because itakuwa ni kama vile ligi ya Ethiopia iko I think iko YouTube. Ndio unasema iko YouTube. Unacheki kuna venye itakuwa yani ni watu wanaonyesha kwa TV lakini with empty stadiums na ina mafans bado. So nilikuwa nataka nipate view yake on how anaona hii media in case what announce ile impact yenye itakuwa nayo. Alafu tena nilikuwa nataka kumuuliza kuhusu ameongea kuhusu the work anafanya Mvita, which is very good work. Na me on my opinion ni kuna a lot of people wako na the same willing kufanya the same thing Kenya anafanya na Mvita, but shida ni resources. So mimi nilikuwa nataka kumuuliza how can teams overcome that, because kuna in every tunaongea saizi kuhusu vile tunaweza make tribalism work for us, na niko sure in every tribe ama in every locality uko mashinani kuna team ya huko mtaa yenye inacheza tu. Hata mimi natoka Homa Bay, nilishtuka kuna team wana form matona zao ndogo huko na wako na uniform. Unajua uniform hizi cheap zenye at least by punch uko na full kit. Wako na these uniforms na wanacheza. So hiyo the initiative iko, but me naona the problem na hii kuwa na a club from every community, shida ni the resources. Hakuna watu wako able kulift teams kama vile yeye yuko. So nilikuwa nataka atoe opinion ya how community teams zenye ziko huko on the ground, how can they rise ndio to form the 7 derbies. How can they rise to the occasion ndio to form, because lazima, because set yaziko, because set atakuwa na form something new. The teams ziko, but hazina the power and the capability ya kufika juu, because hata hizi teams zenye tuna discourage kina Tusker, kina Bandari bila ameongea, we won't, tukiamua kwa discard hatuwezi ati tutoe hiyo team. The best way najua ya kutoa hizo team ni to relegate, na to relegate ni inamaanisha ni these teams ni communities perform better than these people. So I think nilikuwa nataka jibu yake niulize how these communities clubs which don't have resources can rise to the occasion. Asanteni.
Thank you, Rizzo. Pros, you're allowed, bro. You're allowed.
Okay. All of us have to be good students.
Hata Tofik amefika, so now the questions can be directed. Kuna hizo za
I got one question only, I think, because I also had lost network, but I got one question. I mean, Sina ndo ameuliza swali kwamba, okay, fine, we have TV rights, lakini the stadium is empty. How will that work out? Exactly, that's exactly what's the situation we are in now. So what I mean nasema, tujaze stadium, alafu ndio you get the TV rights wenyewe, there we will have like 20 of them begging to come in, and then that's how now you auction the viewership, because right now we are the ones who go and beg, like kama juzi tumeenda, and then we beg TV to come, and then we take what they give us. But if we had a huge fan base, there'll be so many channels that will come, and then they'll be the ones asking what we want, how much we want, and we can even auction that amount. That's why niliposema what political parties do when they have their rallies during elections, what they do is that they spend money for mobilization to kujaza, alafu ndio unaona kila mtu, KTN, Citizen, everybody wants to stream it live. They compete to stream it live. So obviously they'll compete to stream it live if they know that ground is full. So let's not rush to charge people entry fee, because if you ask the clubs how much they make in entry fee, it's peanuts, it's nothing. So you would rather invest in that. I would want a situation whereby even during my games, instead of people paying to enter, I pay the fans to come and then get the attention of the media. So you have it the other way around. That's why when I said you have to find our own solutions to reach our goal. So that's how you get the media to come in. You don't start with the media, first get the fans in.
Okay, I can go on now, Dizo.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, if all of us are good students of history, you can remember the reason as to why Moi dismantled those tribal teams. It was to work for his favor so that he can rule, and because he already knew when fans come together, and I think the teams were based on that tribal cocoon and something. He knew these fans are united, and the good thing about football fans, when you're united about an idea or a purpose, you will always stay united. No matter, even if your team loses 10 consecutive matches, you will always show up at the stadium, because you know there's a specific chant I'm going to chant in the stadium that I can't chant by myself. So Moi knew the reason as to why he dismantled these tribal teams. He knew the reason as to why he forced FC Leopard to name themselves the FC Leopards. Like, he knew what he was doing. So I feel, yes, he did the bad thing then. And there's a day I even joked about it, and Dizo said, no, we cannot go back there because it failed. I joked about it and said, if this thing is not working, let's just go back to where we were because it used to work. Let people have their tribal teams, because football is all about fanatism and passion. If I feel attached to a certain team, that's what I'll do. And one of the things I've come to realize, all these teams that are based in Nairobi, apart from Kibra United, none of them have a fan culture. None of them have a fan culture. I don't expect, like, the way Gor Mahia puts on his clothes and shouts at the stadium is the same way you'll realize a police fan wants to shout. Police drums the same way FC Leopards drums. These people do the same, they sing the same songs that these people sing. This already shows there's some problem somewhere. But when you come to Gor Mahia, the song that Gor Mahia sing, FC Leopards can sing, Shabana won't sing those songs. So this means, yes, we are a tribal country. Let's that's why I'm very happy. If you've been following me, I'm always very happy when Shabana is promoted, when Muranga is promoted. I just want Muranga to force those people to feel like we own the team. I'm happy Shabana already has something. I was happy when I was seeing Muoroni. When people talk about Marashuga or even that Rainbow, I ask them, what are they bringing in the league apart from the 11 players and their fat bellies technical bench? So For me, I support Balala. At least for now, I have somebody else who is supporting my idea, because I was a little bit shy when I'm saying we should go tribal in football. People will feel like, oh, why are you going tribal? You're associating it with negative. But we should go tribal. Make it tribal, make it rooted. If you feel you cannot go tribal, support the modern teams that you have. You can support Kariobangi Sharks. City people can feel like city people, dress like city people, move like city people, support their team like city people. If you come from City Star side, behave like somebody who comes from the side of City Stars, work like City Star fan, behave like a City Star fan. And through that fans culture already, it will establish itself that way. And then people will be rooted. Mtu wa Nairobi hata itikia. I joke, mtu wa Nairobi anapigwaje na timu ya Ushago, and you go home confidently. Team inatoka Kakamega inawapiga. I usually make it that way so that the people who are born in the city can feel that guilt, but we don't feel that guilt because we don't care. So for me, I second what Balala said. Make it tribal. If you imagine you have a team from Isiolo, people who come from Isiolo, they will tell you, no, for us, we cannot play on Friday. We are going to Msikiti. We have to play only on Saturday or on Sunday. If you go to Kisii, all their fixtures have to be played on Sunday or on Saturday. We're going, and we have to play at this time and blah blah blah. So you'll realize there will be a tension. Tension when you go to Isiolo, when you go to Moyale, when you go to even Turkana. You won't feel comfortable, but you're in a situation whereby somebody comes from Kakamega, arrives in Nairobi, anachapa Kariobangi Sharks, anachapa Mathare inaenda huku. We don't have a fan culture, and that's why when this team meet Gor Ban and FC Leopards, hata kama watatuchapa hizo team mbili, but watashtuka because they know these fans, they are attached. So attachment, that's one. Everybody will always, even our names, they are tribal names. So people go back to their tribal roots. If you're born in the city, uko na option ya kuchagua team. If you feel you are a digital person, you have an option. So it's the sphere is too wide. I support what Balala said.
You just stated the example ya Boca Juniors na River Plate. I think you are good.
Yeah, even class. Boca Junior and River Plate, it's all about class. River Plate feels we are the middle class of Brazil. The other people feel like we are the poor. Raja feels like we are the broke. You feel we are the rich. Like that class and stamp. People should do that. I expected Wazito to bring such drama in the game, but they don't. I expect Tusker to bring that flamboyancy in the game, but they can't. So such things are the things that separate the game. But hii yetu kila mtu tu wako tu. But fan culture from next season, I hope it's going to work. From next season, we're going to try and push it further and further.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. Mnyamwezi tena umedrop na Balala amerudi juu yenyu mko mnamuuliza maswali. But ni sawa, unaweza nini tena. But I see Balala tu kidogo tu tusikie Nem anasema nini alafu we get back to you tafadhali. We, Nem, mtu wa Tusker.
Vipi bana? I hope mnanisikia poa. I hope mmekuwa poa. So okay, kila mtu anajua how much I napenda Balala and how much maybe I kind of dismiss some of his things, the way he does things, and maybe leo amejaribu kuni convince a little bit, but swali yenye niko nao, just a simple one. Hypothetically, upatiwe this league because FKF is not going anywhere. This league is not going anywhere. Hypothetically, you are given 3 years to fix this league. What would you do? What would you change? What would you keep? Because kwa league, there are so many things that need to be squashed. There's other things, of course, need to be kept. So what would you take away? What would you keep?
Balala, you can respond as you give your insights, other insights.
So, of course, I would do exactly what I've been talking about, break the entire league. But I can't say that because the teams, they have votes. So obviously they would never vote for me. So I can't say it now what I want to do. But basically, let me just say whether it will happen or not. But this is what is required: is that break the entire league, and if the government will assist us, then they will assist us by forcing these state corporations to come in and give the same sponsorship to the team of that area, and then change the names. call it a name like Gor Mahia and Abaluya Football Club, depending on which area you are. Like I've never liked, before we used to have a team called Costas. I never liked the name because I said to myself, that Costas should be a Swahili name because we are known for Swahili. So we should be change even the name to Wapwani or something. But using Costas, we have gone into an English name. And we have teams that we copy from Europe. We have so many teams that even in Mombasa, there's some teams called Bayern. So I always tell them I can't, and they come to me, oh, supporter. I said, I can't support you with your name. Exchange your name of that area you come from, and I'll see how I can help you. But I can't help you with such a name. It won't work because a name, people think it's a small thing, but it's such a huge thing. It must represent a people. Anyway, so that's how I'll answer that question. But previously, we're talking another speaker. I think it was Trosta. Trosta, I agree with you 100%. And you know, the power of football is that even during if you study the Arab Spring started in Tunisia. Who started it? It was the football fans that are the ones who went to the streets. They started, and then from then the movement became the entire country. Then it spread to Egypt. Who started the Egyptian Spring? It was the football fans of El Ahly and Zamalek. They started it. That's why you see now when Sisi came into power, is the day that Egyptian football started going down. Before, Al Ahly used to win every every African league. Nobody could touch them. But Sisi intentionally did what Moi is doing. He realized these guys are dangerous. These guys are the most powerful people. So he started killing the football teams the way Moi did it. Moi did it that time. It was a one-party state. Nobody could question him. Now we've evolved into freedom of speech and all these things. And the first, and even me, I was shy to use the word tribal. I used to say community based, but because didn't want to, because I knew the first guys who will criticize me are the same people who are practicing it, the political class. But now I think let's just say it openly. We just need a tribal league, and because the politicians are doing exactly what they're telling us not to do, because they want to remain the power. And me, I want to shift the power from the political class to the football class. That's how I want to change the power. And the politicians have enriched themselves using that, using the people. And me, I want the people to, we use the people to make the footballers the millionaires of this country. And that's how I'm thinking about it. If I, you know me, I went very deep in my study. I've gone too deep in my study. And I think I mentioned it once that my study is actually 20 years old, but I used to do it quietly on my own, sitting in my, because I like researching and I like writing a lot. What happened was that, and then, you know, I come from a political family. My father was the assistant minister for finance after independence. He was a member of parliament. His brother, who is my uncle, is Najib Balala. Again, was a minister for 20 years. One of the guys who started the multi-party was an uncle of mine called Sheikh Khalid Balala, was also there. I don't know whether you remember him. I myself have been a councillor in many years ago. So my family is very political. So I have very deep roots within every system that was there. So this is what happened during Moi's time. When Moi tried to disband tribal teams, what he did was that he even changed the name of Gor Mahia. Gor Mahia changed the name to, when they were told to change the name, they wanted to keep the Gor. So they changed the name to Gulf Olympic Rangers. I don't know whether any of you remembers, but because they wanted the GOR. But luckily they won. The first team, I think, that won the Africa Cup, when they went to the finals with Esperance, and then they went to State House. And when Moy asked them, "What do you want?" They told him, and the TV was all there. And they said, "We want back our name." So Moy, under duress, accepted them to use back the name Gor Mahia. Otherwise, today there'd be no Gor. But his advisors told him, "Hey, Chief, what are you doing? I thought we agreed, Your Excellency." The guy said, "Relax, I have a plan." So what Moy did, picked up his phone, called MD or Telcom, or former football team. Hello, called Posta, former football team. Called Kenya Ports Authority, former football team. Called Kenya Commercial Board, former football team. Give these guys employment. Still the good players from Gor Mahia. from Abaluya Football Club, give them jobs, move them to your team. So what happened was that these teams started taking all the good players, and then Gor Mahia started dwindling. Leopards started going down, because before it was Gor and Leopards were always number 1 and 2. So they started stealing their good players, and that's how he started destroying these two teams, and then brought the parastatals to be the ones that were winning the leagues, and also at the top, and they kept taking the good players. So that's the history of the last 30 years has been like that. And then people like AFC Leopards now trying to struggle to maintain at the top. Gor Mahia, during those days, these Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards were known all over Africa. So I speak Arabic, and I also listen to Arabic. So there is also the biggest Hollywood of Africa is in Egypt, Egypt TV. So there is a program that was very famous. There was a very famous actor in Egypt, it was a comedy show, and the guy was like, one guy walks in Egypt, and he's like, I remember Gor Mahia had played against Zamalek, and they were and you know, Gor Mahia were huge and they were rough, and at that time, during that match, there was a match where it even ended up into violence, and then this guy comes in with a broken hand inside. It was just an Egyptian thing. And then he goes, the guy asks him in Arabic, "Hey, what happened? Were you in a football match? You played against Gor Mahia?" So imagine to the fact that even in their movies, they were mentioning Gor Mahia, and they said, that's how famous you are. This is about 20, 30 years ago. Nowadays, nobody knows them. Nowadays, the teams that represent us is just Tusker, what. But if we had all these other teams, Shabana, I think, won it once in their lives, and they never ever came back to win it again. But what I'm saying, my point here is that because you were right when you said Moy intentionally killed it. Now, over the years, the generation after generation never realized why we've reached where we've reached. But if you go back in history, you'll realize that it was done intentionally to kill this thing by the political class. So we need to play them back. We need to play their game by introducing our tribal team, just like the way they produced their political parties. When Kenya went into multi-partyism, what happened was that they tried to create political parties based on ideologies. You know, SDP, CG Wat, Orengo was fresh from uni and created all those things. And they realized they were not going anywhere. The guys who were winning elections were the guys who are the tribal chiefs of this country. Then everybody decided, hey, if you can't beat them, join them. So everybody went into their tribal cocoons, created the tribal chiefs. So now in Kenya, we are actually ruled by tribal chiefs. The tribal chiefs I'm talking about, the tribal chief of the Kambas is Kalonzo Musyoka. The tribal chief of the Luos is Raila Odinga. The tribal chief. So we have gone into the tribal chiefs, and this has worked for them. So they've left it there, and they've kept it, and they've thrived with it. So us guys were here, whenever we try to bring it into football, the same guys tell us, Abana, Musilete Kabila, Kenya, but they are doing the same thing. So me, what I'm saying is, we just told John and did come and buy. But as I said, we've evolved. Nowadays, we even love each other. We make fun of each other, but we still love each other. We intermarry, we make fun of each other. Ukitaka to make fun of a Kikuyu, you tell him, wewe nyinyi bwana unapenda pesa, nyinyi mna busy, sijui nini. You go into, we laugh about it. Even him, many years ago, you'll be angry. Somali utamia wewe waria, zamani ukiita Somali waria, anapigana. Siku hizi yeye mwenyewe anakuambia, mimi waria usicheze na mimi. You go to the Luya, they have their own banter about the Luyas. We have our own jokes about the Luos. We have a joke, and we all have accepted it. But 30 years ago, we were not accepting it. Now we've evolved into that. We've fought, we've done all this, we've had tribal clashes, but now we have decided this is our life, and we love each other based on our differences, and we are all patriotic. That's why when Harambee Stars plays, all of us come together, because now we all go back and say we are all Kenyans. Now, this same thing happened to rugby, and I predicted this, and I spoke about this many years ago, that this same downfall of football will be the downfall of rugby. Today, rugby, for the first time, we've been thrown out. We're no longer we're no longer in the seventh circuit. Why? Because we did that to our I was also a rugby fan at those days. And rugby, I remember we used to have Harlequins. We used to, and Impala were teams who lived around Woodley area and all those. Mean Machine was a university team. Blackbird was a team that ex-university teams went in. Nondis was a Mzungu Kenyan cowboy team. and rugby started growing until we even reached now the world circuit. Then what happened is that banks started coming in and changing names. Nowadays in the league, there's Standard Chartered, Barclays, see what? Slowly started dying. No fan base in rugby. Instead of going up, we went back down. So rugby have made the same mistake. Football, we made the same mistake. And I don't want us to sit down and do nothing about it. If we need radical changes, let's do it. And because we are the lowest of the low, anything we try is better than nothing.
Thank you. Mnyamwezi, unakumbuka swali yangu?
Ah,
Balala.
niliona Nemuel amejibu hiyo ameuliza hiyo swali, but nataka tu kurudia. Nilikuwa nataka kuuliza Tafik, uko na ameka mikakati gani chini kuhakikisha like, unajua niko sure wase wengi wamechoka na mwili, na Tafik akiongea matime fulani alisema, I'll have to do some things and some people will have to hate me for doing so, but I will do it for the greater good. I would like to know, what are these things that you feel like maybe people will want to fight back and challenge you on it? What are these changes that you're planning to make zenye unaona maybe unaweza patana na opposition kubwa, but you have to do it for the greater good?
You see, I need to, in Kenya, anything you do, you need political goodwill. So obviously the first guys will fight you, or the politicians. So what you do is that you sell an idea that will benefit them as well. Before, in those years of Moi, anybody who wanted a political seat had to go through either Gor Mahia. You become chairman of Gor Mahia, you're guaranteed of a political seat. Ama Baluya Football Club or even FKF, or that time it was called KFF. Matiba almost became the president of Kenya, and his journey started through football. Football was creating power for people, and then it died. So that's why politician abandoned football. So what you do is that you get the politicians to be patrons of their team. So this same political party or these same tribal chiefs, you make them patrons of their teams. They will that might entice them. We might con them into accepting, and then if they all buy into the idea, it might succeed. So that's maybe just one way. Of course, I know that we have a group of many brains here. You guys also can bring ideas that maybe I've not thought of that can work. Because sometimes I'm stuck with ideas. I know I want to go here, but I don't know. Like here, I've reached a dead end. But if I have, guys, I'm sure we can crack this case.
Can I give you an idea about politics with football? Imagine, let me give you one. Let's say, for example, when Dindi Nyoro takes on that Muranga Seal team, and then he places more money on that team because I'm sure he's rich. He places more money on that team than SportPesa. Let's assume he want to advertise even his company, maybe even his political party. What is the political party? UDA. He tells these people, I'm going to give you 120 million a season. You have to put on UDA in front of your shirts. I think this alone will give that team mileage, like it's a political team, you're being sponsored by a politician, and the opponent fans will always feel like, they're being sponsored by another politician. Then we'll come up with another party, or maybe ODM will see, they'll feel guilty since all those low MPs, they don't want to sponsor Gor Mahia. Now ODM will tell the MPs, you have to chip in this team, and then we'll give you, like, even in a season, you'll have to, in the middle of the season, you'll put orange shirts in support of this, blah blah blah, like small things like that. I'm sure these people they can.
But you know, the problem is Tanzanians are doing it without that, and that Tanzania are behind us. Like, surely, to be honest, I think hapo tutakuwa tunajienjoy sana. I don't think naona hiyo direction ni old school kimpango, but na feel tuko na
you know where the fan base comes for Tanzanian teams, Yanga and Simba. Does anybody know where their fan base comes?
Tell us.
Even the Tanzanian generation don't know. You don't know where are the fans coming from. Where are they supporting? You see, if you go down history, these teams are very old. Before independence, Tanzania, Dar es Salaam is like Mombasa. It's a place. Can you hear me? Tanzania is a bit is like Mombasa, Dar es Salaam, the capital city, because it's a place whereby you see Mombasa is a place where there are the Swahilis. The Swahilis are a mixture of Bantu and Arabs and everything, and these guys came and settled many years ago in the coastal cities of East Africa. What happened was that they're supporters of Simba. If you look at Simba, the supporters are the guys of Swahili origin, Indian origin, and then Yanga were allowed back in the league. They came in as an African team. That's why they call themselves Wananchi, when the Africans were allowed to join the league. So what they did is that the indigenous Tanzanians now started supporting Yanga. These are our team. That's why they're called Young Africans. And then so there were the young indigenous the indigenous Africans were in Yanga, and then the guys who had Swahili Arab origins were the ones supporting and funding and financing Simba. So that's how they created the fan base. So you see, when you go back, it's actually really tribal. But because they never went down, they were on an upward trend and they succeeded. The support now has moved to a third or fourth generation. So when you ask a Tanzanian, why are you supporting Simba? He also does not know. He'll tell you, because my father was supporting, or my grandfather. It's been in our family, and then younger. But me, I took it upon myself to go back and study their league since the 1950s and 1940s, and then 1960s, and then 70s, when just after 60s, and they got independence, how they were allowed back in the league. And even Simba used to be called Sunderland. Those guys had English Premier League names. Even Mombasa at that time, the Mombasa was I think one of the most vibrant in football, and their football teams in Mombasa in their leagues were all named under. There was Burnley, there is Liverpool. We have all those teams. I think even Mahmoud Abbas that played for Liverpool. So what happened is that when the British now started leaving, is when guys started changing their names. They were allowed to change their names, or them themselves started changing their names. But actually, it started like that.
So I think you have said something about identity, and that's maybe what we are missing the point from what you are saying. But if someone will use a simplest example, and I'll use my club, because someone asked a similar question today, that why is Shabana bidding even up to Oma Bay Stadium, and yet it's far from Kisi? It's because when you create identity, you don't have a problem to where you are going to step on. I believe that if your club has a good identity, for instance, Gor Mahia can play in stadium. They can have their fans there. They can play in Kasarani. They have their fans there. They can be taken to Kirigiti, that's in Kiambu, and they have their fans there. So when you have the political goodwill, I think your people will be able to move with you wherever you are without like the geopolitics affecting you, but just having that base. What you need is the numbers, the populace itself, not a matter of like someone said that you need to have the teams don the colors of the parties. At times, it's all about the identity.
Yeah, and you see, I posted something on just now. You've seen those pictures of the Kenya map and on the England map. If you look at the Kenyan map, 14 teams out of the 18 are based in Nairobi. But if you see only one Bandari is in Coast, and then the other two I think in Western. But if you look at the English Premier League, the teams are divided around the whole country. Now the English, the Mzungus, they are attached to their cities. But the Kenyan culture, we're not attached to our cities. If you try and call teams Nairobi versus Mombasa or the counties, it will not work, because we are more regional. The old provinces. We would want teams of our provinces more than Mzungus there, more on their cities. And even them, if you go back in history, during the 15th, 16th century, when they used to have a lot of civil wars in even before that in Europe, you'll find that the civil wars was within those regions, and then their capitals were in those areas where you see their teams are coming from. So what happened is that when the civil wars ended, they invented football. Football was invented now in the 18th century, whereby now they started playing football as a way of fighting a bloodless war through football, and then fighting against each other of the traditional areas where they used to have their civil wars. That's why they succeeded. Even in Germany, the Bavarians are the guys from Bayern. The Bavarians are a Kabila. And also you go to Spain, the Catalonians who want freedom from Spain are the guys from Barcelona. And so everybody, and then you go to Scotland, you'll find Celtic and Rangers are actually Celtic has the biggest fan base in the whole of Europe, second to Liverpool, or maybe more than Liverpool. Why? Because these guys are Catholics, the other guys are Protestants. So it's also an identity, but in religion. And up to only 10 years ago, you could never see a non-Catholic playing for Celtic, and a non-Protestant playing for Rangers, or is it vice versa? I think. But all of them have something to do with an identity that they've evolved into what we've reached today. So Kenya also, we've gone to the first stage of evolution. So for us, we have to find a way to use the whatever is our culture. We just do not shy away from, but we just focus on that. It is our only success story. And if once we get that success story, our football players will be millionaires. Those guys will be driving big cars and living in big mansions. And we've cracked the case for our situation. And let me tell you, when we have a league where there's so much money, we will attract players even from West Africa. Even West Africa, go through go to YouTube and look at their leagues. They are also having a problem with fan bases, because they also have started doing the same mistake of companies coming in. Tanzania have that same problem now, and Uganda killed themselves because they're also doing the same thing. So we must now quickly change and move from that into this. That didn't work, maybe this will work. So, and I'm not saying I'm 100% sure it'll work, but I'm so certain myself, and it's worth giving it a try. Let it fail, but let's try it.
Okay, Traffic, sorry.
Wait.
Let me interject just a little. So I was wondering, since you can't quash away, where's it toward the league the way it is right now? Because right now it's gonna, I think, 4 teams, the tribal based, or let's say community based, or maybe 5 if you add Kariobangi Sharks, but you're into me office anyway. So why don't you start from the bottom, right? If you bring, would you bring Vita youngsters to start from the bottom, get in the league, build itself up? If it builds itself up, it will bring the fans. That hype will come. The way Shabana and Muranga Seals did. Why can't you plan on bringing Vita into the league and show them how it's done? I still don't. I've never understood that.
Okay, Vita Youngsters for me was a case study. I actually never wanted to stay in Vita Youngsters for long. I just wanted to use a case study and bail out. But I've just found myself so attached to them. That's the drug that football is. I found myself attached to them, and then I look at them like, situache. Because me, I finished my study, and I said I've done it in a small way, in a Kamta. I can grow this thing into national thing. I just wanted to set an example for national. But I have a plan. My plan is secret right now. I can't reveal it, but inshallah, hopefully, even next year, you'll find me somewhere in the Premier League. I hope if my plan goes as I'm thinking. I met for the first time. I met Nick Mwendwa a month ago, and I was introduced to him, and I'm like, "Oh, this is Tawfiq. He asked for this meeting." So he's like, "Okay, nice to meet you." And then Tawfiq has a team. The guy started the way I introduced me. So Tawfiq has a team in Mombasa called Vita Youngsters, and the guy looked at me, ni wewe. So I'm like, even he's heard about it. Ni wewe, and that's what I wanted everybody to know about that team, including the FKF. He said, ni wewe, hiyo timu yenu, hiyo ligi yenu ambayo haiko FKF. Why? He started ranting. I'm like, yeah, right, I know, but I did that for a reason. And then I explained to him and everything. And then I told him, I want to give you some advice. I told him, Nick Mwendwa, your name has been spoiled, has been tarnished. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's true what they're accusing you of, Amina. Maybe it was a personal thing. Me, I don't know. All I know is that Kenyans, when you say mwizi, Kenyans believe, because Kenyans have been robbed so many times that even if you tell somebody who is mwizi, they'll believe it. They don't know what you stole or what you did. Maybe you didn't steal anything. But this, I told him frankly, I said, but because Amina at that time knew that, let me finish this guy. We have a war with him. Let me just say ameiba pesa. I know probably you didn't steal because amesema ameiba pesa FIFA, a game changer, so people will forgive you and people will remember you. I think you need to pull up your socks and do something and leave a legacy for us. And then I asked him, one thing I'll advise you. I told him, your team, Kariobangi Sharks, you claim it's a community-based team. Me, I don't agree with you. Why? Because I told him, this is how the Kenyan thinks. If I am a Luo living in Kariobangi, I'll support Kariobangi. But the day you play Gor Mahia, my loyalty will change. If I'm a Luya living in Kariobangi, I'll support you. But the day that you play the FC Leopards, I'm going to change. My loyalty will change on just for that day. So why don't you have a loyalty, build a loyalty that is number one, your team? The only way I would advise you, move your team to Kambani, make your team an Ukambani team, and give it to the people of Ukambani and represent that region. I think that way you'll do better. He told me, wewe unajuaje mambo ya mpira wewe? He really put me down. I'm like, okay, sawa, I was just advising you. And I just knew, bas, hapa hakuna hope.
Na niulize
alikwambia acha nipike hivi na tab.
napenda kukiwa na order jo, mtu akiwa anaongea na ako na conversation na mtu mwingine mnampatia chance. Hiyo story ya kujump in haileti shangwe. Anyway, bado nilikuwa nauliza Mr. Tafik maswali, lakini mna jump in mtu alafu points zinapotea. Anyway, there is this issue, Mr. Tafik, about players, the clubs and players in terms of payment. We have been having a problem, and that's why maybe we don't see that beautiful football, because we can't see beautiful football where there's not budget, where there's no, payment on time, where players are not motivated to, they're not motivated the way stars, the way stars needs to be. So I was asking, what are your plans on that?
My plans, yeah, I agree with you. My plans are this. You see, people like Poster, I even checked, they're paid like a salary of 30,000 each. I think I think breweries, they pay guys like 80K or 60K. Some guys are paid 30K. Bandari, I think, are the highest. They give guys up to 100K. Yeah, but all this is peanuts, because this thing is CSR money. We need to get out of CSR and go into marketing money. Marketing money is so huge. The sky is the limit. But this can only be done once you get the fan base. Football is just the fans. It's not the players. The players are just pawns inside there. But the guys who bring in the money are those guys who fill the stadium. And then also the design of our stadiums are all wrong. What happens is that, as I told you, I went deep in my studies. What happens is that if you look at the design of a stadium, when you have a stadium with a running track, you kill the fun atmosphere because you're so far from the ground. If you look at even places where, like the English Premier League, there's football stadiums are just for football. The players are pushed very much near to the ground. We need now to invest in small grounds that are for football only, not for running, for football only. And I keep telling Bandari the same thing with their ground at Mbaraki. I tell them, why you guys have a running track? Nobody in Mombasa runs anyway. That running track is never used. Move your stands nearer to the ground and forget about the running track. They can be the big stadiums like Kasarani, Nyayo, where you can have your running. But we must have grounds that are just for football. It's easier to create that atmosphere for fans. Oh, and this thing of guys not being paid, it's okay. We must suffer the consequences for some time for us to reach where we want to reach. So tunaenda maskini lakini utajiri utakuja baadaye. And that's what I did with Vita Youngsters. When we started, tulianza maskini. And because these guys started getting known, the team started getting known, the grounds were always, people were always going to watch them. So it became easy for me to go around asking for money from companies in Mombasa, people that I know. And when and at the beginning, I couldn't ask for money because I when I go there, I'm told to up jerseys. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm here for. Me, I'm coming to create something that you guys have not seen. And I said, I'll be patient. So I was kidogo, I took the thingy and tried to whatever shillings I had in my pocket. But I promise you that I have reached a stage, I don't spend anything from my pocket. Everything is given to me. My team travels with the most luxurious bus for every away game because the bus car company came to me and said, listen, use my bus, because he knows now that the bus carrying the most popular team in Mombasa for him is advertisement. He even now has given me one of his new buses that has not been branded. He told me, branded Vita Youngsters, use it for your team whenever you're playing, but when I have my Mombasa Nairobi ile kazi, I'll use it, but it'll have your Vita Youngsters. So people will start believing that hii team mpaka iko na that bus. Hata AFC ama God don't have a bus like that. Ikikuonyesha the picture of that bus, and if I send you a picture of what we are designing for that bus,
tuoneshe picha, tuoneshe picha mkuu.
picha sahihi even what we're doing. So what I'm saying is that unaanza kimaskini maskini hivi, unaenda hata kama la kidogo, but for the next generation. We are building for the next generation. Let's accept that this generation, we have messed them up. We have messed them up big time. But let us now see the next generation, our children who are still young, these guys. Let's fix something for them for the future. Let me just try and post that picture.
Yeah, you know, I want you to inspire Gor. Kiplimo bana.
Kama unataka kuongea, raise up your hand. Tukue na order bana. You can't just jump in from nowhere. Ya kama unataka kuongea, just raise up your hand. Thank you. Mnyamwezi go.
So Tafiku, you know, at least when we get to see the bus, at least you will inspire Gor. At least you know what Gor are going through right now. And another thing is about the issue of sponsorship and the media. You can see we don't have, there is no proper structure on that media and sponsorship. You don't need to rely with the one sponsor. Now, like, we are begging for all this to happen. We are begging. And again, right now, it sounds like a rumor, a propaganda, you know. We are not sure who is going to sponsor the league. And even if is going to sponsor the league, we are not sure if they are going to solve all the problems that we've been having in the last season.
Bro, we Mnyamwezi, we all see wote bana, tuko na collective. We have to put a collective effort, because we realized we tutakuwa tu tukirant, so we can actually do this. Venye tu Balala amesema, he saw the problem. He did not go to the management. Alisema, let me do it myself, so that when I go to those people, I can tell them this is what is actually working. And he doesn't go alone. He goes with a number nyuma yake, where now akuji ka kubeg. He goes there with as in anaenda kwa negotiation table. Hajaitwa kwa negotiation table. Hajaitwa kupeana opinion. That is exactly what he's saying. And it is the same sentiment with football K. In short, these things can be done on different levels across the nation, but the goal is the same. Ball near the next generation, bro. Skudanganyi by the way. That is the truth, because our 30-year-olds, bro, soon watakuwa na retire. So if they do not have a plan B, wako mbaya. But for our next generation, we must do the right thing. Put up system, malitakuwa cohesive for them, where their talents can be showcased. Because if the other parts of the world are actually doing it and they're earning a lot, because today's world, bro, advertising iko na pesa sana, and our football is walking billboards. Uko na billboards 22 kwa pitch. So if you can put numbers there, they don't have to suffer. Football hata ifai kuwa naifanya kaa hobby, itafika mali it is professional, ni career, na hapo ndo inafaa, because si wote hatuwezi kuwa machop daru.
True.
Yeah, so anyway, acha
Bwana,
tusikie
hiyo
hasa
bus.
wengine
I
wanasemaje.
posted the bus, you saw it.
Nilikuwa nauliza sasa,
Mm.
mmefanyaje? Mnataka kufanya mesha zene mmeweka ndo football iko interesting. Kama mimi nataka kujua kufuatilia futa ya teme Kenya. Yes, nitafuatilia futa ya Kenya, lakini nitakuwa interested juu nimeona ni kama mafans wa nini ndio wako consistent, wa fans wa Gor peke yake. Itakuwa ni kati timu moja sasa kwa KPL. Inakuwa ni kama hiyo kitu tu ni boring, ni ya timu moja. Tuseme kama hadi kucheza sijaisikia ati kuna hii timu inachezanga na hii style, kabla unasikia tena wanacheza na hii style nyingine, unasikia vile Baka anacheza na hii, Real anacheza na hii. Nataka tu niende tu
Cheki we
support timu ya Kenya.
chum before uendelee I wish kuna msee hapa ndani anaitwa Josh, sijui kama ameshuka, angeweza tu respond to you on that. I think ameshuka, because unaona hajashuka, yuko hapa ndani, unaongea game ya Kenya, anaweza kuambia kitu anafanya for a living na he has done it on ground. Unaona Sharks ni watu wa Sharks, sasa yuko Sharks, ako FC, unaona. So ni wewe mwenyewe unaona mali interest yako imefika mali wewe mwenyewe unaona uko kwingine najisumbua, and that sadly is the mindset of almost many of Kenyan football fans. So ball yenyewe
it's the business part. Unaona sasa hiyo vile unasema,
sasa ndio
unasema huwa anajua hajatuambia, tujaijua tu kwa mtandao.
Sasa ni wewe shida nini? Na nasemanga our football is underreported, but vitu nauliza zina exist, ni venye zija kufikia, they are not in your face, kama for example zile advert unaonanga YouTube, unaona na hiyo ndo tunasema kama management yezi fanya, sisi wenyewe fans, it is exactly what we are trying to do. Hapa ndani kuna ma content creators wa ball wengi, kuna ma journalist wa dimba wengi. If you follow them, best believe utakuwa unapata more information than you currently have.
Yes, but lakini mnafaa kuchukua na larger scale. Sasa mkienda kama bloggers rather than tu ni kama paid.
Sasa ndio maana by the way, ndio maana unaona hiyo hashtag ya football K. So we are trying to get numbers. Ndio hiyo information ina bounce off that community. Ndio kila msee hata unaona. Venye unaweza ambiwa story ya Raila. Sidhani kuna mtu Kenya anaweza kosa kuona story ya Raila. So we want football K ifike to those levels. Ndio ukiambiwa story ya for example kama sahi hakuna msee kidogo tu got kiasi tu kidogo tu kama saa hii tulia tu usitense. We are very free here, hataki kusound condescending, tuna learn si wote, best believe. So unaona bro chum, unaona for example kwa hii space kudanganyi mtu, ukisema Maish sai utaambiwa story ya Maish na karibu kila mtu hapa ndani, unaona. Ukiuliza Taiso utaambiwa, because hizi vitu zina bounce off juu hawa wase wako ndani ya hii group ni watu wanapatana na hata wajaionana. Mimi sijaona wase wengi hapa ndani, but we know each other cause hawa wase ndio wanapiga hiyo shughuli. So what we are trying to do is get, juu hii namba hatujatosha bado, we want it to be national wide bro. So from there utakuwa unatafuta hata bloggers, mtu wote unaona kwa mtandao football KE bro, unaona, cause our football is underreported. So we are trying to solve that issue. It is
gani sasa unasema mimi nataka kukua fan, lakini sijapata reason. Yani fan ndio janipea reason nyingine. Sasa nikisema nataka kuwa fan naweza kuchagua tu Gor peke yake na FC. Hizo ndo
sasa usiende kwa Gor, kuja Homeboys
ndo nakwambia
fan.
Ndio nakwambia kama fans wamenifunza hivyo. Sasa juu hizo ndo nyingine najua. Hizi zingine sijui sana, nasema umefanya nini ndio hizi.
Sasa got acha got akwambie mbona yeye ni fan, ajaribu kukuambia got.
Najua cheki football si kuambiwa, football ni kuona.
Swali ya kwanza
hadi Gor siambiwa na mtu niingie Gor.
Acha nikwambie chum, nasikia hapa unasema sijui hii ndo kulienda kukaenda. Kitu ya kwanza uwezi ujaianza kupanda. Mute your mic, it's okay. Ujaianza kupanda mti from the top. Ukianza kupanda mti ya maembe unaanzanga kupanda from the bottom. And the way you are talking, it's very evident that you don't follow what football K is doing. na hatuwezi anza kukuelezea hii kitu from mali tulianzia. We just do your research, ona mali kitu ilianza all along, you learn whatever we are doing. You simply hata sasa nikikuuliza what is football K doing to Kenyan football, clearly you don't know because you just
we
don't follow.
goat wacha
No,
nikwambie
sikia.
mtu sikia goat
Goat.
kiasi tu sikia tu unaona goat ukiambiwa na mtu ukiambiwa na msee mi sijui kenye unadu usikue unawambia saa ujui, let me just tell you. Sasa for example bro, si tukianza show na Devi sikudanganyi, unaona Devi ndo ako hapo anajitanga jina ingine ya ufala, mi siwezi mita hiyo jina, but unaona Devi ako najua a lot, hata mimi sikuwa najua a lot, but you see through this hii channel ama hao mavijana kina Gota kina Tross nini, we have known a lot because ni kitu we have tried to have discussion venye tunaweza kaa tuonge juu hizo team zingine za huko. Why shouldn't we do it? Hebu mute, tunasikia, usiogope, tutaenda tu hivyo stands. So why shouldn't we do it for our football? Unaona, so for you ndio ujue, you must also align yourself closer to these people, ama tasiase to those kind of channels of communication, otherwise itakumiss, because in today's world of social media vitu unaona one minute 2 minutes story unaona sahi, kesho utaiona, but if you have those connections to those talking points, hata ukimiss you can reference them. Am I communicating?
Nakuelewa, lakini huwa ananiambia ati nafaa ku research.
Pia hiyo ni pande yako.
Si pande yangu, si pande yangu. Nikisikia hata nianza nimalize. Nilianza kusupport timu ya England, sema ni Manchester, si ndio? Nilikuwa mtoi, sikuenda hadi nianze ku research ati nani alinionyesha Manchester, ni Manchester ilitoka wapi, ilizaliwa lini, kwa nini. Nilianza kuona game yao from the time nilisikia tu Manchester United, niliona game yao kwanza.
So tunafaa kuja tukufeed hapa na information about Gor Mahia, hutaki kujitafutia.
Mnifeed, hapana, mnasema mkuwe na game at least inaonesha kuna entertaining part of the game. Ndio at least mtu akiona hiyo game anakuwa enjoy. According
to you, football K is not doing that, yeah? According to you.
I'm not
Ebu kutoka asubuhi tumekuwa wase wamekuwa kitu call out na wamekuwa genuine sana the same way chumu huko. So I don't see the reason why got an assault defense. Tunafaa kuchukua hiyo criticism, then we see what we can do about it. Yeah.
Sasa ninataka kumuelimisha hivyo tu, nilikuwa naambia ndio ni understand. So ndio nilikuwa naambia kama hiyo space yenu vile mmeka hiyo football K, mnaweza kuwa mnaongea tu nyinyi wenyewe mnajua hiyo game. Hiyo support yenu kwa WhatsApp group, yani vile WhatsApp group tu mnakuaga mnaongea hivyo, lakini outside I'm invite watu, yani muoneshe reason ya kuwa interested in football ya Kenya. Hivyo ndo nasema tu. Kama sasa ningeza hivyo, hiyo ndo situation yangu yenye niko sasa.
Hebu Lamo Chum Goat, acha niambie Chum hivi. Sisi hapa ni fans. Sisi si management yenye tuna manage the football ya. Sisi ni fans tu. Alafu unafaa kama unataka kusupport team hapa Kenya, unafaa find a reason why to support that team. Kama mimi ni fan wa Gor, and the reason why me the first person mwenye alipeleka study ni budangu. Hadi sasa bado budangu study. So hivyo ndio mimi nilianza kusupport Gor. So wewe lazima utafute a reason to support. Umesema tu hapo vizuri. Mabeste zako wanasemanga wanaongeanga tu about Gor na FC. Sasa kaa hiyo ndio reason yenye uko nayo kusupport hizo timu mbili, chukua hizo timu mbili. Juu washakuambia, juu hakuna haja utafute timu nyingine, juu hao sio washakuambia hizo ni timu mbili. So una find a reason why. So usiseme ati sisi we are not doing enough. Sisi ni fans. Sisi si the management ya football ya hii Kenya. Sisi ni fans wenye come together, si upatananga study, na hivyo invite wase wengi sana. Kuna wase wengi wenye wako endanga study hapa kwa hii space. Kina Lamo na Dizo. Wako wameenda study, but sasa wameenda.
Wewe usiseme mimi nimeenda study wewe bro.
Nilikuwa nadhani anaongea na Tufik ndio mwenye sijui alikuwa anasema hizo idea za sijui.
Cheki Chum.
Kwa nini?
unaona Tofik
hawa si
is a
wana
fan
try
kama sahi, unaona ye pia ni fan, ye si ati ni ako in management of football sahi, ye pia ni fan. Hii page ni ya
ako in
fans, hakuna
management
mtu
of football, bro. What are you saying?
which football.
nilikuwa namsuggestia. Unaona vile unasema ati Gor, yes na nini, nimekwambia Gor na hiyo Leopards siko interested in any, yani sijapenda. Yes, mko na hizo nini
Oh, Chum,
mnajichachanisha, lakini sijapenda hizo team. Kuna ile preference ya mtu nakwambia. After that
Chum, hawa si
we mwenye anataka kurespond to Chum pia ndo apate the level of discussion, isimpite junyi wote mnataka kuongea naye. Wacheni kuwa defensive,
wacha nimalizie na Chum. Chum, wewe
maliza tu bro, mwezi na uko brief bana akupate.
Okay. Chum, mse wa Gor anakurukia hapa mbele, anataka kukuonesha vile hii kitu inamata sana hapa ni Gor na AFC. But let me tell you bro, mimi naweza kushow kuna timu kali, kuna timu poa, kuna Tusker, kuna Kakamega Homeboys, unashika. Kuko na timu kama KCB, kuko na timu kama Sofapaka. Bro, kuna timu kali. Kuna timu kali hapa.
Mbona ni kali? Mbona
hivyo ndo namuuliza, mbona ni kali? Nionyeshe. Unajua game si muziki, ni kuwatch. So hizi niambia sasa hii game ni kali niende nifuatilie. Ni lazima ni watch hiyo game unaniambia, unionyeshe clips, unionyeshe hizo vitu niende nione, niseme yenyewe ni satisfied. Lakini hizi niambia niende nione. Hizi hapa. Si muziki, ni watching.
So ndo nakushow hivi. We Sato wewe tunapatana nawe Kasarani to watch game pamoja kama wase wa football KE.
Wait. Hiyo iwezekani, sijui kile inaweza ona. So unafaa kuniambia Sato unaenda
tunakaa tena nikwambie huko kuna watu wanaenda kurombosa hadi.
Tunaweza ona game, lakini sijakata games zinaweza ona zote, lakini what reason naona hiyo game inanisaidia, itakuwa entertaining. Inaonyesha clips zinaenda kuona nini.
Bro, kwa nini unataka nikwambie kuna mademu wanatingiza haga? Sinafaa nikwambie tu kuna ball inaenda kupigwa huko. Wewe kwa nini unataka nikwambie nini nyingine? Sio nimekwambia ukuje Sato tuone game. Usikie hiyo vibe.
Fanya hivi, record hiyo game.
So nataka tena naweza kukwambia kutakuwa na mademu huko watakuwa na rombosa, bro, ndo ni understand ama.
Ushiki hivyo, wewe ndo ushiki na kuelezea. Siwezi kuja game zote ndio nitafuta ile game napenda KPL. Siwezi enda game zote niende kuanzia niende ya Sofapaka, Tusker, niende nini. Nafaa kuchambua kwa sababu ya KPL, kwa sababu
ndio nakwambia Sato kuna game moto. Na ni ya Gor na
Mnyamwezi. Cheki Mnyamwezi, acha
kama
solution. Mnyamwezi tulia, unaona solution ya problem issue nani yako nayo? Ndio maana suambia ma teams showcase videos, showcase mapicha, chezeni na face cards nini. Make your team out there itoke nje ya grao, isikue tu kwa grao, itoke nje ya grao, because now ndo mko mnaambiwa you must also learn your target audience. We bana zima hiyo kitu ina. So you see now, one, in the ground utapata mafans kama Chum. So how do you make them come back to football? Hautagi nao, watakwambia shida yao ni gani and you will find a solution. Unaona, one, the first solution you will offer most likely watapenda unless unaelewa shida yao vizuri. For example, kama sahi umempea solution but wewe uelewi shida yake kabisa, to him anaona his time is very very valuable, ndo I set aside kuona Sharks. You must convince him more than just telling him kuja grao. Unaona, so for him amekushow nitumie videos tuone. Unaona sahi kitu ungekuwa na mtag kwa social media. Kuna mavideo za kina Taiso, kuna mavideo za Austin, kuna mavideo za Thiongo akipiga matackle. Soon utaona video za FKF walituonyesha video ingine ya upuzi, though haikuwa justice, but you will see more videos like that. That is another solution. Tag him up, mwambie ndo hizi video na mtag video hata kama za team kama Kinde. But then the other problem is, are those team populating these videos? Juu pia wewe Mnyamwezi wezi enda hizo game zote ukuwe na hizo videos for such fans. Juu usisahau Chuma na represent a larger number, si yeye peke, so you're not fighting him. And if you're fighting the numbers, then you're pushing more people away from the sport. so you must bring them closer. Wako na issue sawa, form yako ni gani, ungetaka
hivyo
nini?
tu ndo nilikuwa nataka by the way.
Unaona?
Wewe umeagi venye nilikuwa nasema
Na
sasa.
hiyo inaitwa in larger broad, tunaita collaboration. And last show tuliongelelea, our management does not have they do not collaborate, they do not integrate, they work in silos. So sisi kama fans hatuwezi work in silos. Wewe unasema game iko na noma, unasema wase urusha mamawe, tunakuonyesha videos, nionyeshe mamawe hapa ni gani. Hakuna anga, sawa, next time na come. Now we have solved the issue, but we cannot fight each other because we have been doing it for 10